Tuesday, October the 14th. Good morning and welcome to your perfect day starter, the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
And a beautiful day it is. With a burst of energy, we return to infect you with some joy, with some delight on your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka. Welcome.
Welcome. Let's head over to the National Assembly now, where there's a lot of conversation around electoral amendment. And it's not just constitutional amendment. Well, it's a subset of it in some sense. But there's been a lot of talk around electoral amendment, elections, 2027, new INEC chairman. But you see, this law is what will be the framework for whatever elections we'll conduct come 2027, given that, well, Anambra is here already. There isn't likely to be any amendment before the election, and maybe it may not affect the Ekiti and Osun elections. But let's talk about the major highlights of this joint public hearing. The House of Reps and the Senate came together. The committees on election matters came together and held this public hearing. Just backtrack a little bit. This is part of the process of lawmaking. The first reading, second reading, then it's eventually passed onto a public hearing. Am I correct? And it comes back to the floor, and hopefully, if they're able to harmonize all of the points that come up for this, they're able to pass it for final reading up until the president to sign or not to sign. But these are some of the highlights of the electoral amendment. Voting by inmates. Bukola, you see, early and diaspora voting. Let me stay there a little bit, because that means that if this flies through the early part, it means journalists, security operatives will maybe get to vote, because there's going to be early voting. So you get to vote before election proper, because most of us are on election duty that day, so we're not able to vote. But diaspora voting is another thorny issue.
Yes, indeed. Because of the evident infrastructure that needs to be put in place, the need to make it transparent, set against a backdrop of results of even elections at home. So how transparent would that be? But that conversation has been on, particularly because of diaspora remittances, the key roles of that Nigerians in diaspora play, back home. And so they need to be included in the voting process. And indeed, groups have been advocating this and pushing for it. There's another item there that Kadi would have mentioned, and that would be non-compulsory use of PVC to vote, but also compulsory use of NIN, that's the National Identification Number. That also is a very, very critical aspect of the proposal before the Joint Committee on Electoral Reform of the National Assembly. Well, that's a very, very important identification tool for Nigerians, not just Nigerians at home now. I believe Nigerians in diaspora are also obtaining that particular document. We hope that it doesn't become commercialized during elections. But the proposal on, early the change in election timetable is just as critical, but it's only part of the story. What we should be asking the National Assembly now is, will the other items on electoral reforms that Nigerian civil societies have been advocating for, will that come through before the November election date that the National Assembly is proposing on this particular one as well? That is critical because of the items on the electoral reform bill that is being proposed by civil society. One would be the powers of the president to appoint the INEC chairman. It should now be vested on an independent body, according to the electoral reform bill. There's also other items, the powers of INEC to review its election result, amongst other very critical items. So will that also come through before that November election date? We're already seen that this current president has appointed, an INEC nominee that has been approved by the National Council of State. So it's as if the ship has sailed on that one already, against the backdrop of calls by civil society and indeed other critical election watchers that, look, you cannot be the kingmaker in a process that is going to determine your fate for the next election. So that's the critical aspect of the conversation. So is the election result of 2027 already determined because an INEC chairman has already been nominated and approved? Kadi, I don't have the answer to that question.
Well, ideally, the chairman of INEC should have very little role to play in the sense that that person should not be able to influence the result of any election. No matter how powerful you are, how towering you are, you should not be able to influence even just one vote. Aside yours, an extra vote, you should not be able to influence it. That's how it works. The point of having a chairman is to have someone who's able to bring to bear managerial skills, you know, all of those skills to ensure that the election body runs smoothly. It's as simple as that. So an INEC chairman shouldn't have more than one vote. A national commissioner shouldn't have more than one vote. Everybody should have just one vote. That's what you should be able to influence. Nothing more, maybe less. But the part a lot of people are still talking about is the proposal to have elections hold not later than 185 days before the expiration of a tenure of either the president or the governor. So if you were to do the calculation, if May the 29th is when the tenure expires for, most of the states and, of course, the presidential election, or the president sits. That means the election should take place, 185 divided by 30 is 6 months. 6 months before May the 29th, and that will be around November. So if this were to sail through, or if this sails through, it means that we would have elections in November, different from what we already have, which is February and March. Again, it's at the public hearing phase. A lot of these things come up, it excites people time and again, but they eventually fall through. But we'll see how this plays out, particularly because it has ramifications for issues around election litigation. You know how there's been a lot of controversy around election litigation, how someone is already sworn in and then there's a battle in courts, which is usually an academic exercise. It rarely turns or upturns the election result. So if this sails through, it will be a major one. So all eyes on the National Assembly. There's also the proposal to have the elections on the same day. That's governorship and the presidential elections on the same day. I know parties are split on this one. The ruling party thinks, no, that would have major ramifications. The opposition says, let's have it like that. So interesting proposals, but not to get your hopes high. This is the time for you to speak with your representatives and tell them what you want.
Indeed, and we hope that if this indeed is well intended and it sails through in line with the proposal of the joint committee, it will indeed reflect the will of the people, whether it's rice and beans effect on election day, where people choose to vote one particular party for, the presidential election, and another party for the governorship, and another party for the National Assembly. The important elements in our electioneering process must be got right, and that would be the demilitarization of the election process, other reforms that have come through to be well put in place. For instance, the use of technology in the election process, the BVAS technology, the internet system also for election transmission. Transparency is critical for all of these systems, such that we can indeed begin to have a free and fair and credible electioneering process going forward. So we just hope that this exercise will not be one in futility, but it will be productive. But that's not the only thing that came through from Abuja yesterday. We also saw that the federal government has instructed all vice chancellors of universities to ensure that the no work, no pay rule applies to lecturers who have gone on strike. And indeed, we know that ASU has begun 2 weeks warning strike. And ASU in response says, look, we will not be threatened. And if you caught up with that conversation, our sister political program yesterday, we heard ASU's side of the story. Earlier in the day, we spoke with the Minister of Education, who said, look, there's no need for this strike. We have done everything that we need to do. The earned academic allowances have been released, and the 25 to 35% pay would be captured in the 2026 budget. But he also did say that the payment for the salaries of ASU workers for the strike that they embarked upon in 2022, that that was negotiated and agreed upon because Mr. President said he would only pay 50%, and ASU is in full knowledge of this. But ASU president spoke yesterday and said there had been several meetings prior to this time, and in fact, at one of those meetings, the Ministry of Education had only one official. They came unprepared with documents not relevant to the negotiations. And in fact, the ASU president, I recall, Kadi, also called out the Minister of Education for wanting to renegotiate a negotiation that had begun a long time ago, 2009 to be precise, but that is against all bargaining rules. So that's another side of the story. But what is more important is that students are again out of classes, and their, academic year or years, if you like, is now unpredictable, is, hanging in uncertainty. So both parties must really take the higher moral ground to resolve this in the interest of Nigeria's education system.
I think there's really nothing to add to that. It's straightforward. We can see the impact of this. These are the students that will be impacted. Some of them, their lives may be disrupted for life. So we must ensure that this is sorted. It's day 2, and that is another day too many. But we'll take a look at how the dailies are reporting all of the big stories today in a moment. Just stay with us. We'll be right back. Quite a number of issues to tackle this morning, and I use that deliberately because all eyes on the Super Eagles as they tackle Benin Republic later today by 5 p.m. in Uyo. A lot of people have moved on, they've forgotten about it, but there's still hope because we approach football with different techniques. There's what we do on the pitch, and there's what we do off the pitch, which is with our calculators, our prayers, our fasting for those who take it even much more seriously. So it's a big day for Nigeria. I will show you how the dailies are reflecting some of those stories. But come on, for those who cannot take the heat, please do not
leave the kitchen.
Leave the kitchen. Leave the sitting room. Leave anything. Just go upstairs or to your room and read a book or just take a nap, which may be tough. But let's get into the dailies.
If you're hypertensive, Kadi, let's add, please don't watch that match.
No.
Don't watch the Nigeria match. Don't watch the South Africa match with Rwanda because one hangs on the other, according to football pundits. Please don't watch. You get the results later. But of course, some of us will be backstage, kabashing, or if you like, praying for the Super Eagles, such that, they can bring this qualification for the World Cup through. So we're very, very hopeful. And of course, we'll be having that conversation ahead in the program. We'll be having our correspondent. So, Kadi, there's some other things that also came through over the last 24 hours that we didn't talk about, and they're just as important. NNPCL has increased the pump price of petrol to about 965 naira or thereabout in Lagos, and in that category also in Abuja due to gas scarcity. And we've had that conversation following that standoff between Dangote Petroleum Refinery and the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. And after that was resolved, the group managing director of the NNPCL did speak to the consequences around the standoff being seen in the limited supply in gas, and that it was just for a few days, it was going to be resolved. But we're seeing that the situation is continuing. We hope that explanation about what is responsible for the increase in pump price of petrol will become clearer in the day, and there'll be a return to status quo, or maybe a further reduction in the pump price of petrol. But let's get into what the dailies are saying this morning. And our media analyst, Mr. Adeni Ifetayo, joins us now from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Ifetayo. Let's set the ball rolling with the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Take a look at the front page. You had already set the tone earlier. And the Vanguard gives us a vivid image of what is to play out later today. Do or die clash. 3 teams, 1 chance. And we see the Eagles there. Nigeria's fate on knife edge. Indeed, Mr. Ifetayo.
Yeah, good morning. It's a knife edge indeed because, it's just this thing kept on coming up year after year because of, should I say, lack of preparation, or when we have 1 month or 2 months to a major competition or qualifier, that's when we begin to gather our players together, etc., etc. It's just a pity, and we had my voice to it, just like Mr. Kayode said. If you cannot take the heat, just save yourself and to get the results later. Because I remember years back, that was the first time I went on not eating because of Nigerian Super Eagles were beating Blue Black and couldn't qualify, So they are earning their own money, they are earning their own salary, but we're just praying. We're a praying nation, as they said. But preparation, when you fail to prepare, and they said the person has already prepared to fail. But in this time around, because of sport, especially football, how it unites the nation and the people together, we are praying, let them do their job. God will do his own job, but let our guys also do their own job. And thank God we are able to skate through the last match. But let's just hope, or as they said, hope renew, if they can win, and hoping that the other team too lose and all of that. But it just shows that lack of preparation. We have the talent, we have the people that can do this job, but sometimes when we don't do the needful, just like the last outing, when some of our athletes were complaining, the kind of kits, their remuneration, etc., etc. Well, whatever it is they can use, to encourage them so that they can get the job done. Let's just do our own, whether we qualify or not. Let's come back with the 3 points and let's see how it plays out the other country, because I know they are also praying. So let's see what plays out today. But if you cannot take the heat, please, you will hear the result, I'm sure.
And you know what's rather interesting with the Bennett team is that we share too much in common. And when I say too much, I mean too much. From the players themselves.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, loud and clear. I was saying that we share a lot in common with Benin Republic.
Hello,
a lot of things. From the players themselves, you would see names on that team and you think, is this a Nigerian player or a Benin player? We're close like that. Even the manager, the coach of Benin Republic was Nigeria's former coach. A lot of people still regret the fact that we let him go, because he's now the one punishing Nigeria in that sense. But again, it's 5 p.m. We'll build up to that moment. We'll have a lot of conversations around it and even give you a feel of the atmosphere. But that's the big story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. I like how the Vanguard captions it. But there's also another story on the front page, which we talked about earlier on. FG directing VCs to submit attendance compliance reports as ASU strikes begin. And ASU, of course, saying you can't intimidate ASU with no work, no pay. In fact, it's not just ASU saying that, NLC is also speaking as well. We saw the NLC speaking on the Pengasan matter with Dangote, now with the federal government. It's a page 8 read on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And the sad event, yesterday, Tinubu can mourn as Reverend Umar Okpai passes on at 80. It was a shocker to the Christian body. Such a strong man, man of faith, passing on. But it's, again, a celebration of his life, the impact that he made as well. It's a page 5 read on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper.
And we also have the Guardian newspaper this morning taking a different path from the Vanguard newspaper. It focuses on the oil sector, and the headline reads, 72.64% of Nigeria's petrol imported amid rivalry from new refineries. It's an interesting one. It's a page 6 read, and we see, as is characteristic of the Guardian, a graphic illustration of the breakdown of importation of petrol. You see there Dangote refinery, 650,000 barrels per day. That's the measure of crude that it refines. There is Warri Refinery, 125,000 barrels per day, Kaduna, and the list goes on and on. And you have also by that side African countries with upcoming revived refinery. You see that breakdown by the side as well. There's Ivory Coast in the mention. There's what other country now? Angola in the mention. There's South Africa in the mention. But the question that arises from this, and which is very important, is as Nigeria enters the League of Nations exporting crude and indeed petrol, why do we still have 72.64% of Nigeria's petrol imported? I believe Mr. Ifetaya is back with us. Mr. Ifetaya, perhaps you want to weigh in on this.
Yes, they said you can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. I'm sure if our leaders are ready to make sure they sort out the issue of imported petrol once and for all. Of course, it's just like we normally use the word, maybe the cabal who are still benefiting from it have not been really dealt with and maybe shamed. I'm sure you are in this country when we had some people that don't even import a single dime, but they are collecting subsidy, etc., etc. But I just hope they still encourage private partnership, PPP, so that even some of the moribund refinery, because sometimes when you hear the humongous, huge amount of money, that they want to do some kind of turnaround of some of our refinery, this like, the engine room of the nation, what makes the nation goes around, what make our economy thrive, etc., etc. I think more attention should be paid for it. I thought we should go way beyond this. 72% is huge, and we'll lose a lot of things to it. Comes to forex, when it comes to international trade, apart from forex, the cargo, etc., etc. We are losing billions of dollars. And if government can tackle it once and for all, I think it will do us good. It will reflect or snowball to a lot of economic activity, jobs creation, etc., etc. So it goes beyond let's just import and get the fuel in the street of Nigeria. No, but the economy impact, what will come as a result of that. It will save a lot of forex. So they should do it once and for all. Yes, Dangote has come on board, encourage other local, even if it's they want to say in geopolitical zone or whatever it is, let's encourage even modular refineries. They can encourage that. We had a lot of people making a local, they call it weather bonfire, in the creek, just to refine illegally, crude oil. Bring them on board, retrain them, give them technical support, and just if it is modular refinery, just to take care of some local consumption, etc., etc. The government can still look at that, and we won't be talking about 72% importation of imported petroleum products.
Okay, interesting times we're in as we near the Ember period. So I really hope that we don't have any major disruption. But let's take a look at this Nigeria. This Nigeria is speaking on one of the major highlights of the electoral amendment public hearing event yesterday. And you see, Senate proposes law to end litigation before swearing in. Once presidential, Guber polls held November 2026 instead of February to March 2027. TUC demands implementation of Owais report. So, would it be November 2026 if the law even passes? Would it take effect? I don't know. Again, I don't know how disruptive that may be, because mentally, a lot of people have planned February, March 2027. So if this law scales through, if it is signed into law, what do you see happening? First, I think the idea is great, having litigations end before swearing in. But November 2026, what are your thoughts, Mr. Ifetayo?
It might create a kind of constitutional crisis if 1999 constitution as amended said a president can serve for a tenure of 4 years, and now governor as it were can serve for a tenure of 4 years, and you want to extend it. I'm sure there will be a lot of litigation. What this says, I think whatever it is they want to propose, maybe it should take effect after this 2026. But of course, the issue of litigation is in this country that for almost 2 years an incumbent we have to be facing, going to court, to know where his fate lies and all of that, and politicize the whole thing. So that one is a brilliant one. If they can do it, or if it's a special court, make up for this, whatever it is, litigation before the governor is swearing, or whatever it is, or the president swears, will be swearing, and everything has been concluded. That's a good one. But as we said, we've all prepared for February 2026. If they can make it I still prefer the kind of a single tenure, so that whoever that is in charge, not that just after 1 year you are preparing, fighting Land 2, just to make sure you retain the seat and all of that. Nigeria, we are so advanced, and I just pray that it's not just about making the law, it's just about implementing it. It's not just about making policy, it's about implementation. Just like TUC are demanding implementation of WISE report and all of that. And most especially, it's not just about ending the litigation. Some of the litigation as a result of election, they have not been publicly shamed, they have not been sentenced so much like that, and to the extent that it can serve as a deterrent that this is what this man did, this is what this woman did, this is what adult staff or whatever candidate did, so that they should pay for it. So people will refrain from doing such in the next coming election. I just pray that the things get through, especially ending all litigation, so that governance can start, instead of looking at your back. A governor that knows that maybe coming through the shady deal or backyard, sleeping with one eye closed, which will affect the governance or the dividends of democracy that democracy promise the people in that state or in that country.
And if, the electoral process was as transparent as it should be, would we need litigations? Don't answer that, Mr. Ifetayo. It's just food for thought for everyone. Let's go to the front page of Daily Independent, and it's looking at something just as important, but in what seems a paradoxical way. Airlines dump local MRO outfits, spend $1 billion yearly on offshore. That's maintenance, repair outfits. I believe that's what MRO represents. Mr. Ifetayo, this seems to, some sort of paradox. Maintenance, according to this report, is cheaper back home, but airlines prefer to, ship their aircraft abroad and then carry out the maintenance that they require for their aircrafts abroad. What exactly is happening here?
The government still needs to make the MRO back at home, or the local maintenance, repair, what have you, attractive. And it's just the same thing when it comes to you are importing goods from outside, and there should be increase in taxation. But if you are doing it locally, we have been shouting local content, patronize local producer or manufacturer or repair, as it were. Aviation is big, and I'm sure they are losing so much money to it when it comes to forest getting parts. Government can still come them and being the regulator to come and say you want you to patronize, because taking this thing abroad is making our people back at home to lose job, is reducing our competence and all of that. And I'm sure when they see the kind of incentive, I'm sure in aviation they too, they are shouting they need a form of subsidy, because we are going out to repair, type A check, type C check, what have you, that they are or maintenance they are doing on their aircraft. So government can still come in let them meet and strike a balance. If you are doing it at home, you get this incentive, but if you want to take it out, you pay as high as much as this. And also those local maintenance, repair, and all of that, they can also increase, or they can also expand their technical partner, bring them home. If you know what they are looking for, that's what a manufacturer or a producer should do, or an entrepreneur. Why are these people going abroad? Let me bring abroad to them, as they say, and so that they can, whatever it is they need, even if you want to have one or two foreign partner, technical partner to join your team, so that you don't localize it. Because some of us, if it's not coming from abroad, we feel that it's inferior, and that's not so. We have some of the brilliant minds in every sector of the economy or in the aviation that can do the job. But they can bring in a foreign technical partner to see that, okay, what you are looking for in Sokoto is right here inside your Sokoto. As we say, that whatever it is you are looking in abroad, we can deliver, we can get it done here. And the issue of their retraining and all of that should be made open, so that they know that these people are increasing in capacity and they can get the job done. And if there's any challenges the aviation, the airlines owner are having with the local maintenance, repair company, organization, as it were, they should lay it plain, because taking that fund abroad can do a lot of can do us a lot of good here back home in Nigeria, especially in the aviation sector.
All right, New Telegraph is the last one we take a look at this morning, and it also focuses on electoral reforms. NAS proposes in November 2026 for presidential guber polls. I should say that the proposal will not affect, or should ordinarily not affect, the tenure of either the president or the governors or any other elected official at that, because it just says the election should be conducted not later than 185 days. That's the proposal. So it doesn't say it affects their tenure. They still end their tenure May 29 for majority of them. But I'll just mention this story. 3,000 banking-related complaints recorded in 6 months. That's according to the FCCPC. There is a CBN draft guideline that all POS or ATM issues should be reversed in 48 hours. And we'll wait to see how that is implemented. But 3,000 banking-related complaints. Now, a better picture would be if we're able to compare this with the previous 6 months. How many did we have? So is this an increase or a decrease? Is it getting better or worse? But there's been a lot of conversation around the banking sector of late about the profits being made, the kind of services people get, the deductions particularly, and all of that. So this will naturally play into it. It's a page 8 read of the New Telegraph. Let me just take a final one, Mr. Fetayo, and have you speak to it. Trump arrives in Egypt for Gaza summit after urging Israel to seize chance for peace. Seeing this, at least the release of the hostages, the joy that is coming for the families and all of that, do you think this will hold, Mr. Fetayo, the peace deal, that is?
Yes, at least it shows a lot of sign that the two aggrieved parties have come together, and in all fairness, release some hostages, and also Israel to release some Palestinian prisoner, or so to say, or whether prisoner of war, whatever it is. So it is showing good faith. We just hope that it did not escalate again, whatever it is. That causes a kind of misunderstanding, launching an attack against a neighboring country just to take a punch of their flesh, and also they need to retaliate. It's a good one for Donald Trump coming through with this, and to make sure that, if you have a friend in the divide that can talk to party A and also have influence to talk to party B, so that they can come to the table. And I would say it's a win-win for the fact that the family, they are reunited, to their loved one after almost 2 years or over 2 years, so to say. So it's a good one. There's nothing that can be compared to, seeing your loved one again after you don't know whether you've loved them, we've lost them forever. But this time around is a good one that Donald Trump is initiating. It's just that, Noble Peace, the White House was saying that it should have been Donald Trump. Maybe if this has taken place before then, it can be among the consideration anyway.
Right.
But that's just that being said aside. And like you said, the bank make a lot of, should I say, abnormal profit. And I think these high time that even the presidency can call the bank chiefs together. How are we going to do this? The issue of charging, you deposit money, you'll be charged. You withdraw, you'll be charged. Your money is left there every week, you'll be charged. You know, all those abnormal charges should be looked into and addressed. It's not that you are not making profit, but when it become, don't let me use the word, being too, is abnormal, because the number is just so much, and it's the customer that pay for it. Just like you said, there's no data to compare in the last 6 months or the previous 6 months before this one, whether the cases are much or they are making, there's an improvement from what it used to be before. But sometimes you make some payment or some deduction, they will tell you before you can get it.
Mr. Ifetayo, we must anchor at this point.
I think,
yes, indeed. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much. Of course, it's an ongoing conversation. It also continues online, such that the process can become close to perfection. Thank you for your time. Mr. Ifetayo Adeni is our regular media analyst on this segment. Thank you for coming. We'll take a moment now. Education is still very much on our minds as we review the poster child, as some will call it, of this administration, the Student Loan Scheme. Stay with us for this next one. We'll be right back.
Well, the education sector is not in the best shape right now as I speak to you, particularly with the strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of universities, i.e. the lecturers. The teachers are on strike, so the students aren't going to school. It doesn't make sense. They just sit around doing nothing all day. And this is day 2 of that strike. And that's in spite of all of the work that this government says it is putting into the education sector in terms of funding with NELFUND, the budgetary allocations, which this government says is the largest in recent times. Well, this morning, we stay with that all-important sector because we can talk about the economy, we can talk about security and all of that, but if we do not get it right with education, then we can't get it right with other sectors. We're joined on the program this morning by the MD and CEO of NELFUND, Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, joins us live from our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the program, Mr. Sawyer.
Thank you very much indeed. It's great to be here, and good morning to you.
Good morning. Just to start off with this strike, how much is it impacting NELFUND's activities? On a lighter note, I saw one student asking that, I hope this will not affect my NELFUND upkeep. But how is this impacting NELFUND, the strike itself?
Well, as you're aware, the strike has only just commenced, and I know that under the excellent leadership of the Honorable Minister for Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, the negotiations will continue to move forward. I'm eternally optimistic that the plans and strategy of the Ministry of Education will seek to be fair and equitable and will, derive the right results. We're very optimistic at NELFUND that this will not impact our operations because, what the federal government has done with NELFUND is put a scheme in place that will address in many ways some of the issues in education. I don't think these should be jeopardized at all. And even though the funding that NELFUND is providing is for students, the rest of the pie, if you like, is also being addressed, as I said, under the excellent leadership of Dr. Tunji Alausa. So I wouldn't want to preempt those discussions, those negotiations, those positions.
So to the question of the students, will this affect their NELFUND upkeep?
Well, again, like I said, the reality of it is that, we don't want to see students affected negatively in any way. But having said that, we need to be very, very close to the discussions. We need to look very closely at how this unfolds in order for us to begin to make pronouncements as to what will be affected within this by NELFUND. But we're seeking guidance from the Honourable Minister, who is our leader in this regard, and I will take guidance from him as to the steer and the way in which this should move forward. And like I said earlier, we're very optimistic. We are an agency and we're part of an administration. We're a component of solutions in education, and our component must align or complement the other components of the pie, if you like, and we look to the leadership to see how that will work out. As of today, it will not affect upkeep, but the negotiations are ongoing, the discussions are ongoing, and we must be sensitive and reactive, or should I say responsive to that. I don't want to make any pronouncements until I hear from the Honourable Minister, who will provide guidance, because this is all part of the package to ensure that education must work in Nigeria.
And relatedly, NELFUND has announced the reopening of its portal for institution authorities to verify their students for the 2024 to 2025 academic year, or as you call it, loan scheme and application. How is this ongoing strike affecting that process?
So there is no correlation, there's no relationship between the temporary opening of the portal for verification. Of course, the verification that we require would need to be done by the management of the institutions. The verification directly affect the students. So the students will only get the loans when at the final hurdle the institutional management have verified it. So we've opened the portal. Our hope is that the institution's management will continue to, in that window of opening, will continue to verify so the students don't suffer as a result of this. But from our side as NELFUND, we carry on providing benefit, we carry on providing value, we carry on providing support, we carry on providing opportunity for Nigeria's great students. And that's what we are here to do. And we are looking for partners in that line of progress, and we're sure that we will find ways through all of this. But the portal has opened temporarily for verification. The institutions should go ahead and verify the students who've put huge effort into getting themselves into these institutions and into applying for this laudable loan scheme, which the President has made available to all Nigerian students in tertiary institutions that are government-owned. And I think that we should really just plow on as NELFUND and continue to place the opportunities for the institutions to engage and for the students to benefit.
You say they're unrelated and it's the management of the institution that will carry out the verification process, but SANU, the last we checked, also called for a strike. NASU also called for a strike. So which management will be in active service currently to ensure that verification process goes through?
Well, I need to be careful that I'm not speaking for the institutions. And again, the issue of this strike, I believe it's a warning strike. And I believe that there are huge efforts going on behind the scenes to ensure that this really doesn't escalate. Again, your question is valid. Which management? I know that there are other bodies that are not going on strike, but let's continue to remember that the students, the great Nigerian students, are at the heart of this, and anything that seeks to slow down, stop, disrupt, affect education in this country is the students that bear the brunt. And as long as we remember that those students are students today and are leaders tomorrow, we should really ensure that anything that can be avoided that might affect their ability to transit from students to national leaders is not encouraged. So my view is that we must continue to be a student-focused scheme. I know that the Ministry of Education is very student-focused. The minister is very focused on students, and I think all of these discussions, anything that is done, will be centered around the benefit of the students, even by, you know, the unions, the academic staff unions and the other unions. I know that part of what they're doing also has put the students at the center of their intentions, their actions, their activities. I think we're all very focused on Nigerian students. We're all students once. We know how difficult life can be as a student, even without strikes. And now that we have a loan scheme in place, you know, we encourage anyone who can help the verification process to do so, because it has long-term effects on the students if they are not verified.
All right, I wanted to walk through the numbers quickly. It's something you've had to do time and again, so I know that you always have the latest numbers. How many beneficiaries have we had so far?
Okay, all right. So so far we have 581,000 beneficiaries and about 846,000 applications.
All right.
But in terms of beneficiaries, that 581,000 number relates to people whose fees we have paid as NELFUND or have also had upkeep paid to them. Not everybody whose fees have been paid have had upkeep, because not all of them applied for upkeep, but the beneficiaries, anyone who's received the institutional loan paid by us, either with the upkeep or without the upkeep, 581,000.
Right. Now, here is the grouse that ASU, I know you try to stay away from this ASU matter, the strike, but ASU is really interested in what happens in universities for obvious reasons, and NELFUND is one of them. ASU, we had a conversation with the ASU president, which I imagine that you may have caught, and he said for them, they've said time and again that this should be a grant and not a loan. Because they understand the system. This is a system that they've known for decades. And they said time and again, why not make this a grant? Because for them now, they look at the number, the population of students in universities, over 2 million. If just about 500,000 plus are beneficiaries, they're asking, does that mean that the over 1 million do not need the money? Clearly they do, but they may be afraid of getting the loans, and they don't see this as feasible. So do you have some sort of evidence to counter their own argument that this should actually be a grant and not a loan?
Okay, so you know, Nigeria does not live in isolation. We are a country that is looking beyond our borders. We're looking at how things are done in other places. We're looking at the general landscape of how education is funded. Good education is expensive. Good education is expensive. Nigeria has continued to deliver good education, as evidenced by the numbers of Nigerians who have studied in Nigerian institutions and have gone abroad and gotten themselves into a fantastic position career-wise. However, we believe that not everybody will have the opportunity to step out and do that. And one of the key things for this scheme that the president and the minister want to see in place is that it is sustainable. So, you know, if we provide grants rather than loans, and then the whole thing dries up in a few years' time, we would not have helped anyone. You know, embarking on a career as a student at a tertiary institution, it's not a one-year exercise. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, depending on the course people are doing. It is absolutely imperative that this scheme is allowed to be sustainable. And I'll say something else to you. You know, when people want to make a decision about whether to procure or obtain something, If it's free, anything that you get that is free is of less value to you generally than something that you have to pay for, in general terms, okay? Now, if I give somebody some money to go and buy an item, let's say, for example, a car, and it's a gift, the way that their mind will work, the way that the rationale around that would work would be very different to if they had to pay back. If they have to pay back, people are a lot more circumspect, they're a lot more detailed about what they're doing. The same applies in education. If you give people a grant, they will do maybe, in many cases, the first course that comes along. If it's a loan, they're looking at a return on their investment in education. What course are they studying? What institution? How good is the institution they're going to go to? What are their chances of getting a job? What are the chances of getting a good job, of getting a good salary, so they can pay the loan back? It is eminently sensible to do what other countries across the world have done, which is to give student loans rather than student grants. Now, I can tell you today that sustainability is absolutely crucial, and the loan scheme is designed to bring sustainability. Now, I'll tell you something else that is really interesting. These loans, as of today, are interest-free. So even though the law allows us to charge interest, the guidelines that we've put out is that no interest is chargeable on these loans for those who are taking them up today. Now, think about that. If you add to that the fact that people don't have to start paying back until 2 years after they've completed their National Youth Service Corps, and even then, only if they get a job, you begin to see things like, what is the time value of money after they've graduated and perhaps are looking for a job? What are we going to get as a return? If you borrow 100,000 naira today to pay for your education, and you don't have to pay it back for 5 years, and even then you're only paying 10% of the value of your earnings, not even of the loan, only while you're earning. The truth about it is that 100,000 naira today is not 100,000 naira in 5 years' time. This, as far as loans are concerned, are, attracting the softest terms for any loan I know of in the world. So I don't see the argument, but it is important that people place a value on what funding that we're bringing, so they can choose the right course, they can choose a competitive institution, and they can focus on, the fact that because they have to give something back for those who are coming along thereafter, that they pick and make the right choices in terms of the courses they do and the institutions they attend. This also will make institutions more competitive amongst themselves in terms of the courses they offer, in terms of the fees perhaps of the courses, in terms of how they have the reputation they build as an institution, which is attractive to employers to employ the students that come there. If you look at institutions across the world, you'll find that there are some institutions where if you've been to that institution, even before you graduate, people are offering you work. There are other institutions that after you've graduated, nobody wants to know because there's no confidence necessarily in that institution.
All right.
So, there's competition also that should be encouraged for institutions to deliver the best value to the students. The students are the ones coming with a package of money, so they have to market themselves in many ways to the students as well, so that the, overall, the sustainability of the scheme, the courses, the institutions,
all right, Mr. Sawyer,
and the competitiveness is guaranteed. We live in a competitive world.
Yeah, and that process is still being tested. But I'm sure one of the other questions that you have had to answer quite a number of times is the, consequence that has come out of this loan scheme that cannot be ignored, and that's the increase in tuition fees across the country in many higher institutions. Is there a tool at NELFUND's disposal by which it can check this, what some would call indiscriminate increase in tuition fees by university authorities? And is there also a system in place at NELFUND to check, and confirm that some students may have been sort of incapacitated, who are unable to obtain the loan, but who have now been thrown into difficulty as a result of the increase in tuition fees?
Sure. So just to refer back to the early part of your comment to say that this system is being tested, I have to tell you that the student loans as a scheme globally are very well tested, very well tried, and everyone, I think, globally recognizes that, you know, the system works. Now, going to what you were saying, you know, in any environment where you introduce more funds, there's always going to be some inflation. You know, the problem we were trying to solve in the first instance by introducing this in what seemed relatively abruptly is the dropout rate, the very high dropout rates from institutions across the country because people either ran out of money or their circumstances changed such that they didn't have the funding to carry on. Now, that's been addressed very, very well because the dropout rates have dropped significantly. And for people who would have dropped out, who have now been able to carry on because of the loan, their lives have been transformed, and it will emerge over years, and people will give, I'm sure, testimonies in the future about how this scheme came and rescued them. So to your point, or to your question about indiscriminate hike in fees, indeed, we have observed that some institutions in this country, Nigeria, have increased their fees indiscriminately because NELFUND is now around. We have a mechanism that allows us to look at the historical charges that these institutions have had and what has happened in recent times to their fees. Now, we have no issues with institutions putting up their fees as long as it's not indiscriminate and it's not overhiked, if you like. It's not exorbitant. We are addressing this, we're discussing this, we're flagging institutions that are doing this, and we're in effect providing warnings to them that this is not something that is allowable because we cannot introduce a scheme that seeks to help students and then on the one hand, and then have them disadvantaged on the other hand because of any sense of profiteering. Now, we recognize that, you know, institutions sometimes have to increase their fees to meet rising costs. That's a reasonable explanation. Everyone across the world knows that the cost of living rises generally year on year, but there is a number or there is a metric that indicates what that figure looks like. NELFUND have no issues with institutions that are undercharging, putting up their fees, but we will have issues with institutions that are overcharging. Not just because of NELFUND, but like you said, because of the students who either perhaps don't want to take the loan, and it's entirely optional, not everybody has to take the loan, or for students who, for one reason or the other, can't access the facility. We need to be sure that nobody is significantly disadvantaged because the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has sought to address a problem of students either not being able to attain the highest level of education or having to drop out because they don't have money. We can't have that becoming a double-edged sword. So we're addressing it. And the Honorable Minister for Education set up a committee recently where we looked at all of this and we actually changed our guidelines to reflect you know, this sort of unanimity that is required across institutions, both in terms of fees and in terms of services and in terms of nomenclature around what is described as a fee, an institutional fee.
So does that mean that students who are in these tertiary institutions that have hiked their fees may not be getting NELFUND intervention? Because you had said that education is expensive earlier on. That's what you started off by saying, and I think you sort of acknowledged that there's rising costs everywhere. So these universities, I mean, they have their own metrics in-house. They know where the shoe pinches in that sense, so they have hiked it. And a number of them have done that. Some 50%, some 149%. I mean, it just ranges from school to school. But my question is, does that mean that the schools that have hiked this beyond your own projection would not be getting NELFUND intervention?
So, look, I think, again, we need to remember that the intervention is for students. So this intervention is primarily for students. So we are not going to penalize institutions or penalize students because we're trying to penalize institutions. Because ultimately, if we say that we're going to pick institution A and we're not going to give them the benefit of NELFUND, it means that so many hundred, so many thousand students may end up suffering as a result of that. So the way that we see this is that we dialogue. We sit down with the institutions and we say, look, what is a realistic increment that you need to make in your fees in order for you to be able to run your institution effectively and deliver quality education? There is a number to that. Anything above that number is potentially profiteering. I think that the institutions and the management of institutions in Nigeria on the whole are incredibly responsible. I can tell you that I've been to institutions in this country even before NELFUND started. The school management has put things in place to help students access education. They've set up funds, they've tried to raise money in ways, they've given leeway to students so that they can attend classes, set exams. I've been to a number of institutions where they've seized on their own, they've taken up initiatives to give students access to classes. So NELFUND is doing that now, but it doesn't mean that the institutions haven't had their own schemes in the past. And we must give respect where respect is due, where, you know, it is not all institutions. However, there are some institutions where we have noticed these spikes, and it's about dialoguing with them. It's not about wielding a big stick and saying, hey, look, we're not going to give you NELFUND intervention, because there might be 6,000 or 7,000 students who need that intervention. But I can tell you what's going to happen over time is that because of the competition that this is going to create, NELFUND is paying. Of course, NELFUND is paying on behalf of students. But students increasingly are going to start looking, as new intakes come in, at the cost of a course in institution A and the cost of that same course in institution B. And they will begin to make decisions as to which institutions they go to, partly based on cost. Of course, partly based on reputation of the institution, on the delivery of the education they're likely to get, but partly based on cost. So I think it's early days for what we're doing now, but in time, you will see a cost competition coming up, and I think a lot of the institutions will begin to realize that. If you price yourself out of the market, then you will find fewer students coming to your institution.
All right.
And if you have fewer students coming to your institution, there's going to be less funding from NELFUND. It's going to be self-correcting in many ways.
All right, and we hope that's the reasoning of many university authorities. But there's a good reason I said this is being tested, even in other parts of the world, because there are teething problems if you study the situation of student loan schemes in other parts of the world. But my question is this, and I'd appreciate it if you can answer it in maybe 30 seconds. You acknowledge that education is expensive, and with all these attendant consequences that we're discussing, isn't the purpose of the NELFUND scheme being defeated already if indeed the vulnerable that is being targeted are being eased out of the equation because of increase in school fees?
Okay, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I lost part of it. Just repeat the question.
You acknowledged earlier that education is expensive. So if that is the case, and with the attendant consequences that we're discussing now, increase in tuition fees, isn't the purpose of the scheme now being defeated because the vulnerable are being eased out?
No, absolutely not. Acknowledging that education is expensive is a general comment. Good education anywhere in the world is expensive. You know, you need good lecturers, you need good facilities, you need good work tools, you need good implements for you to be able to learn. Education generally is expensive. And of course, what that means is that education needs to be well funded. You know, it's not about scrimping and scraping and trying to get the lowest amount of payment in to the system. We just have to look at mechanisms that allow education to be properly funded, responsibly funded. And that's what this scheme is designed to do. It's giving the students the power to be able to choose the course, where they want to go, what they want to study, but also looking in terms of what the country needs. In terms of education, we don't want to be paying for education for people to go and study courses that are of no benefit to the nation. And those are the areas where savings come, where you begin to save by not funding the unnecessary elements, whatever they might be, of education. You said you'd give me 30 seconds for that, but that's my response.
You know what, the questions coming in, Mr. Sawyer, flood of questions. Students in EXU, students said they were meant to receive from 10th October, they have not received. I think in addition to the response you give to my question, maybe speak to how to seek redress, maybe students who have issues, how to effectively ensure that whatever issues they have are sorted. But I want to ask you, what programs are still excluded from this NELFUND coverage? I know a lot of people have said put all institutions, all courses rather. So I want to know what particular programs and courses are still excluded rather from NELFUND coverage.
Okay, so look, first of all, let me say that one of the major exclusions, or if I just give you the criteria, before I get to the exclusions that you're asking about, you have to have NIN, you have to have a JAM registration number, you have to access the institution using JAM, you have to have a matriculation number or an admission number to show that you've been properly admitted into the institution. The institution must be government-owned, federal or state government-owned. So in terms of exclusion, that already, if you don't have any of those, whatever course you're studying, you're excluded. However, we only do undergraduate programs, so anything that is postgraduate is automatically excluded for now. We also don't do part-time courses. So people who are doing part-time courses, unfortunately, are also excluded, because we want people to be able to get their education in quick time so that they can move on to the next phase of their lives. We need to get real outcomes. So for now, in terms of the academic courses themselves, for now, we haven't excluded any courses.
Right. So in terms of redress now, I know you get a lot of them, but let me just mention some of them. EXU, that's Ekiti State University, saying academic session is not over, but the last credit that they received was in August, asking that you look into that one. There's another complaint here about last time they were meant to receive from on the 10th of October, but haven't received. So what is responsible for some of these glitches that the students experience?
So let me say, so let me just clarify your question. Are your questions from students, or are they from the institution?
From students.
Are they from students?
Students. Did you get that,
Hello?
Mr. Sawyer? Students. The students themselves.
Yeah, no, they're from students.
Yes,
okay.
please.
Okay. So look, we have a mechanism for receiving complaints. We have a mechanism for handling issues. When someone says that they haven't received something they were supposed to receive on the 10th of October, students don't apply for these loans at the same time. So how a bunch of students come together and say, we're supposed to receive this on such and such a date? It only happens that way if they applied on the same date. We know that students didn't apply on the same date. So I find some of these, we haven't received. And, as soon as someone receives, they drop out, and somebody else says, well, I haven't received mine, and they become the complainant. It's understandable. It's money. People are expecting money. If it doesn't come when it's supposed to come, they become very frustrated. I talk to many students myself. They call and say, hey, look, I was expecting money today. It didn't come. Why? I say, well, when did you apply? And they say, oh, sometime 2 weeks ago. And when we get the information in, we find that, no, they said they applied last year, I beg your pardon. And then when we get to talk to them, the information was only received last week. I can tell you something else. We have a lot of students out there who are, not wanting to let people know that they're receiving funds, because they're also receiving funds from their parents or from people who are paying on their behalf. There are a lot of them who want to hide the fact that NELFUND is paying them. In terms of those sorts of complaints, we have to look at them individually. We don't, there isn't a collective way. Now, the other thing about upkeep, I think you referred to, we haven't received upkeep since August. We need to remember that we work in academic sessions, 2024, 2025, 2025, 2026. As soon as somebody applies for 2025, 2026, generally their upkeep will stop for 2024, 2025. In any event, the upkeep is only paid from the time that they receive their first payment to the end of the session. It's not a full year activity. On their dashboard, they see January to December, but actually they only get paid for the time that they're in the institution. So there are things that people still don't really understand, and it is our responsibility to educate people around this.
Right.
It's been frantic trying to get this off the ground. As time goes on, we will continue to educate. A lot of these questions are because people simply don't understand how the scheme works. And it is our responsibility, I repeat, it is our responsibility to ensure that people understand how the scheme works. It is a new scheme.
Right.
There are teething problems, there are awareness problems, there are understanding problems. And we have plans to continue to educate. This is just the way all projects across the world run. When you start, people are not sure. They ask somebody, that person gives them their own opinion or what they think. It may not be factual. That goes round and round and round.
And
there's a lot of misinformation, but more importantly, misunderstanding.
And that's why we have you on the show today, to try to tackle all of these questions, which is why we kept getting these questions into you to speak to. Now, we must commend you for making yourself available, which is what it ought to be, right? By the way, I must mention that for those students who are getting from NELFUND and their parents, is that morally wrong, or is that just being smart?
Well, yeah, I love the question, because, morality and being smart, who are we to judge? There are many successful people who are successful because they're smart. There are also many people who are very successful because they have good morals. I think that I have an opinion, and my opinion is that many parents are struggling in this country. They're looking for money left and right, up and down, day in, day out, to keep their children in school. And a lot of them end up with health issues, stress-related issues, mental health issues, because they're trying to support their children. My own view is that, the students who are able to access NELFUND should relieve their parents of this stress.
All right.
Because, the consequences of a parent that's really out there looking for money to pay for a child who's already got the loan, the consequences for the parent may not be good. And I think we just all need to have a little bit of a conscience around this. Because, our parents are there, and generally speaking, most people who are in tertiary institutions, most people are there by the grace of God, and the fact that their parents have supported them through for many years. And NELFUND gives an opportunity to support your parents back, if you like, by taking the burden off them.
And I think you have spoken for and as a parent. We have to thank you so much for your time. I must say that it's good to see the work that you're doing, and we wish you the very best. Whatever will improve education in Nigeria is well accepted. MD, CEO, NELFUND, Mr. Akintade Sawyer, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me here, and we wish the students well.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, there are talks about whether PDP governors from either Southeast, South, or even Northern Nigeria move into the APC. What does this mean for governance and politics? Let's find out in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So let's switch gears to politics now. And it appears as if it's a done deal, signed, sealed, and delivered. The ranks of the PDP, the main opposition party, may have been further decimated with the assured exit of the Enugu State Governor, Peter Mbah, to the ruling All Progressives Congress. According to reports, the Vice President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and other top officials will be in Enugu State today to hold the hands of the former governor of the current governor of Enugu and present him with the APC flag. So what does this mean for the PDP? Well, perhaps in response to that, the governor of Oyo State, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has said the PDP will not despair and its planned convention is going ahead. Let's have this conversation, and joining us on the program now is public affairs analyst Mr. Ziggy Ibe, who joins us virtually. Mr. Ibe, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And you know, some would ask why this is happening, because according to, you know, opinion poll, the governor seems to be doing well and his second term may be guaranteed in some sense. So why does he need to defect to the All Progressives Congress?
Well, the governor, you said, is doing well, and that is a fact. The fact remains that the governor has APC in his DNA. So he is APC in the blood, and they must shift to where he belongs. That's just on the lighter part anyway. Yes, every politics is about making yourself comfortable, and those you are that are following you, and those that are in your cabinet, those that you are leading. And the way it looks like, PDP is not really putting their house in order. So, and PDP getting it wrong means APC is gaining the other side. Nobody should be blamed here. I think PDP should blame himself for not putting his house in order. And that is why his governors are living in droves. I think they should go back to when they had a lot of strength and a lot of pullover other parties. You could remember in our checker history, sometime in the past, years ago, PDP was ruling almost all the states of the country. And what did they get wrong here? I think it should be a rallying point for them to really know why are we having these issues. Why did Peter leave? Governor Mbah had many times recounted why he would want to decide the party. There was a consensus reached among the governors then about Okoye, somebody Okoye, and Uche Anyanwu. You can recall that Anyanwu left his party for a governorship primary in Imo State, and he had relinquished his position. He did that in order to clinch the top job, but he didn't get it. And before he came, there was a committee set up among Eastern governors to really get someone who would replace Anyanwu. Anyanwu eventually didn't get that party ticket and wants to come back. And the governor said no. Governor Peter Mbah was the chairman of that committee. Ude Okoye was accepted and commended for that position. But the party further rejected it, that Anyanwu must come back. And Peter said no. If you recall, Peter had been saying that if this position was not upturned or this position was not decided, in the interest of the committee that had brought back this Okoye, then he might take another leave, and this is exactly what is happening. So I'm sure it didn't come to the party as a surprise that Peter Mbah had left, because he had told them that if their decision, if they did not retract on that decision of leaving Uche Anyanwu, who went for governorship candidate for Imo State, that he might want to take a different position. And that is the position he had just taken. So nobody will blame him, because he further told PDP that, look, decisions of Eastern governors has never been respected. I think Peter should be carried like egg, because Peter is the only surviving governor in the Southeast that is only in the PDP. So PDP trading these not trading cautions in their decisions will always backfire on them. And that's exactly what we're having here. Peter Mbah, being the governor of Enugu State, is the only surviving governor in the southeast, in that region. So I think Peter Mbah should be rallied around. Whatever they said should be taken into consideration, but they ignored it. And they said it months ago. So for them to have allowed Peter to get to this point where he threatened the party, he would leave, and they didn't pay attention to it. Well, it's a bad taste to the party. And the party has not learned its lesson. Maybe, I don't know, other governors might take their leave because whether you like it or not, other governors are still checking and trying to secure their second tenure.
All right.
So if the party is in a turmoil, if the party couldn't get it right,
Mr.
then
Ibe,
those governors might decide to leave too.
Mr. Ibe, if you consider that one of the key leaders of the PDP and FCT minister is in the forefront of insisting that Mr. Anyanwu retains the secretaryship position of the party, would you say that this is the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau? Because some would say that he's the one behind the scenes that is causing division within the rank and file of the PDP, and he's working for the APC government.
Well, I wouldn't want to delve much into that because PDP went as far as setting up a committee to actually decide who becomes the next secretary of the party, right? Now, Anyanwu left, and you can't eat your cake and still have it. That's exactly the position of this committee. Now, Peter Ude had been penned down for this position from the southeast. But whoever that wields more power had said no, Anyanwu must continue. But Anyanwu has relinquished this power, relinquished this position to pursue a higher position. But he failed. When you fail, it's nobody's business. So you should wait for another position because this one already has been relinquished by you. So if somebody somewhere said no, it must be him, then something is happening somewhere. And the governor said no, the position we've taken so far must be respected. And another grouse about this thing is that Southeast has never been respected in their decisions by this party. Don't forget, Enugu State has served PDP for 26 good years. What has this party, what has this region got? What is the benefit that this region has got? No positions, nothing. No positions has been allotted to them. No decisions have ever been made that has ever been accepted by them. It's all deceit here and there. We are close to presidential election now, and you hear when Southeast will be promised here and there. At the end, they will be abandoned too. And this is what we've got. I am from Mbah in Enugu State, in Uzuwani. Look, we've not benefited anything from PDP since 26 years. So why wouldn't somebody change from this direction? And the only thing that saves or keep one afloat is change. If you don't change, then you remain unchanged. That is the position here. So the issue is that Enugu State must change and get itself plugged to the center. You understand? The issue here is not whether they are gaining from the center or not, but the issue remains that what have we gained from PDP? Why is PDP not respecting decisions of the Southeast since inception? Since 1999, when democracy returned, Southeast had not got nothing. The decisions of Southeast had never been put into consideration.
Right.
We've not got nothing.
Let me come in here. Well, a couple of things that may have been mixed up, but I want us to look at the bigger picture maybe for a moment now. And some will say, what is a guarantee that moving to the APC now, as you said, the only surviving governor, moving to the APC will still be any different for the Southeast? Because we see Abia State Labour Party, Anambra, well, as it is right now, APGA, right? Enugu is still PDP as of this moment, right? Until maybe coming hours.
A few minutes. A few hours.
Few hours from now, right?
Yes,
but you
few
see,
hours from now.
Enugu, Ebonyi, Imo states are APC states. So what is a guarantee that this will be different for the Southeast? And the broader picture, which I want to slot in sort of like a double edge, is what does this then mean for the APC in Southeast Nigeria? Because some will still say, in spite of the fact that you may now have 3 APC states in Southeast, it's still not a guarantee that the Southeast will vote for the APC en masse in 2027.
My brother, the whole thing is not about voting for APC. It is about aligning with where it happens. So, if you are in a party and you are not getting the dividends of democracy, what are you doing there?
Let me pause you for a moment. And just quickly slot this in. Pardon me to pause you for a moment, so you can factor this in. You know, politics is give and take, right? To whom much is given, much is expected. So if anything will be given to the Southeast in that sense from the APC, they also want to look at the numbers and say, how many votes would you give us? So it's a give and take relationship. That's why I said the 2027 election is important.
I'm happy you said to whom much is given, much is expected. In the time past, PDP had been given so much by the region. What had that region got? Nothing. So let's try another space. We must try another space. Who says we might not get when we eventually leave the space we had been for 26 good years? Nothing. We have nothing to boast of. So PDP had not given us anything. So if by new entrants we are giving little, I'm sure if we had spent these years in APC, we might get something bigger and better than all we've got put together in 26 years of being members in PDP. So it is not about what are we going to gain. It is about democracy, dividends of democracy, then about the people who are now aligning with APC in the new regime. The point here is, look, you are better off aligning with your brothers because Imo State joined. We've seen the trajectory. Ebonyi State had joined. We've seen the trajectory. And earlier time when we started the program, I said Peter Mbah was behaving like even APC governor, because if you had traveled to Enugu had won a new look since 2 years he started. So Peter Mbah by DNA or in his DNA is APC governor even before he's joining now. So don't forget, you might not wave this aside or show it aside that Peter Mbah has been working like APC governors in his state, though PDP. But in a few hours to come, Peter Mbah will become fully APC governor, taking the state away from the landlock of being a PDP for many years without nothing. The height of the whole thing was when he was bullied out, when he was disrespected as only governor of the Southeast, whose decisions are not being considered. But then, was he asking too much? Ude that was considered was a legit member of the party. That is where you got to know that Southeast has never been considered for any position until somebody from somewhere, a higher voice, said no. This man will not go. And the boss said, look, we can't take this anymore. It is above our neck.
All right. Mr. Ebe, some would ask, is this the beginning of the threats made by the Southeast Caucus of the PDP to mass defect following the PDP's position on Sunday Ude Okoye, who, according to reports, has also now defected? But one critical question is a follow-up to what my colleague asked earlier. Is the party, the people rather, in the Southeast, will the people in the Southeast also defect, and that's a complex way of putting it. Remember the 2023 presidential election. Remember the pattern of voting. So it's a way of saying, are the people, in line, aligned with this gale of defection? How will this impact on the 2027 polls?
Okay, let me take the question one by one. Governor Peter Mbah moved with the whole structure. And when we refer to a structure, we refer to...
He hasn't moved. He hasn't moved yet officially.
He will. Peter Obi in the next 3 hours. Because Enugu, as we speak, he is wearing APC clothes.
Of course.
Everywhere. Everyone has been salted by APC flags. So in the next few hours, Peter Mbah is moving with the whole structure. And what is the structure? 260 ward chairman and members, 24 lawmakers, and these people represent those at the lower rung of the ladder. Who else are not moving? No one. So if all these people move alongside with Peter Mbah, then the state is left with nothing. So PDP is no longer holding any stronghold anywhere. So now you ask about what he holds for the party. If APC becomes if Enugu State becomes APC party, you know what that means. There's collaboration from the center.
Mr. Ibe, Mr. Ibe, pardon me, are you dismissing the Peter Obi effect in the Southeast in 2027?
No, I've not brought any Peter Obi factor here. Only I did it. I just
it's part of the conversation.
Okay, yeah, Peter Obi's mix here. I don't see the whole party members moving to APC going to vote for Peter Obi, because in Enugu State, many citizens, many in Enugu are happy with what Peter Mbah is doing. So the love will now be very, very total. Now he has moved to APC. Before his entrance into that party, Peter Obi has been begged to leave PDP because PDP was a dying party already in Enugu State. At a point, no nook and crannies of the party was singing PDP song any longer. It was APC everywhere. You remember at a point when the current chairman of the party, the current arrangements that were recently made, headed by Nwoye, Dr. Nwoye, he went about begging Peter Mbah everywhere to join the party because his works had been accepted by all and sundry. The work he was doing was enormous. And they felt that, look, PDP governor cannot do this. So he has APC DNA blood running in his vein. And that's why I said, joke.
A lot of people will take exception to that because what does it mean? What does APC in their veins? Governors perform based on their own pedigree and what they're able to put on board. But as a winder, just to say
I don't believe that it is because he is enabled to do those jobs because
I don't think it's a party thing. But just to say that during the 2023 election, Ebonyi State, that was an APC state, Peter Obi got over 200,000 votes. What did the APC get? 40-something thousand votes. Even Imo State, where the governor is APC, Labour Party got 360,000 votes, while the APC got 60-something thousand votes. So we have seen this before. Would it be different this time around? I don't know. And I don't want you to answer that because of time. Bukola, over to you.
All those votes put together in the 2023 will be tripled this time. Just take my word for it because
word for it. We cannot. We only will know when the elections start.
Mr. Ibe, we wonder if you're a consultant, but if you are, it would be just okay. Anyway, we must thank you for your time on the program and anchor at this point.
It's a pleasure.
Mr. Ziggy Ibe is a public affairs analyst who has weighed in on this subject, very important subject, the planned defection of the governor of Enugu State to the All Progressives Congress. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And when we return from this break, it will be time to talk sports. Are you sitting on the edge ahead of 5 p.m. today? Well, our sports correspondent, Cecilia Omorogwe, will be joining us to give us all of the sides, important sides to this very critical conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Well, the countdown is on to 5 p.m. local time, where the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be squaring it up against Benin Republic's team. And I must tell you that the numbers don't quite look good, right? Because Benin tops the group. Nigeria is not even second at this point. South Africa is second.
And Nigeria is third.
Nigeria is third, right? So we need all of the hard work on the field and all of the support off the field and in the stands to ensure that Nigeria is able to pull through to be at the World Cup. It's been, I mean, we shouldn't be here right now.
But we're here.
But we are
I doubt
here.
that even a draw would do for us at this point.
Don't even go there and draw.
How many points do we need?
We need 3 points. We need at
points?
least 4 or 5 goals to be not even comfortable, to stand a chance to then rely on the match with South Africa. Hopefully they don't win that match, which
Hopefully
is a bit sketchy.
they lose
right?
abysmally.
And I mean, that's only when we know we stand a chance.
And you know, you were saying earlier that we have too many things in common with Benin Republic.
Yeah.
Their coach
Their
is our former coach.
knows
So
our team
he understands
so well.
our team. But go ahead, Kadi.
Well, we have joining us Cecilia Omorogwe, sports anchor and correspondent. Cecilia, speak to us. What must happen today? Not what should happen, what must happen today?
Okay, what must happen today is a win. And when you're winning, you're going to win like a minimum of 2 goals without conceding any. Because right now, if you look at you mentioned how the group looks like. It's not just about us now. It's about if results will go on our own way. And this is a situation whereby sometimes you don't want to be in. You're praying that South Africa should lose to Rwanda, and then Nigeria will score at least 2 goals to stand a chance of at least seeking that ticket. If you look at the group, of course, you have Benin Republic can still qualify, Nigeria can qualify, South Africa can qualify. But Benin Republic have their destiny in their own hands. All they have to do is not to lose to Nigeria, and the World Cup ticket for the first time, they will have it. South Africa also, all they have to do is to beat Rwanda, and the World Cup ticket, they will have it. But for Nigeria, you have to win and hoping that the results will go your way. So that's the situation currently right now. And if you look at our qualifiers, I mean, we've really not, it's not as if we've been losing games. I mean, it's been 5 draws, 3 wins, and 1 loss. But look at Benin Republic. They had their wins, 5 wins out of 9. They've had 5 wins, 2 draws, and 2 wins. That have actually given them the opportunity to get to where they are right now. But then, we know the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Sometimes when they are pushed to the wall, they give you the result. I just hope and pray that today will be the day that they will give us the result needed to qualify for the World Cup. Because never in history that we've not qualified for the World Cup back to back. We always qualify. So that, I think history is right now on the doorstep. When you know that you're about to make history in a negative way, you just have to push harder. I mean, we've got the players. Where do you start from? You've got Victor Osimhen, thankfully he's fit. I mean, he's going to be playing. Then you have Moses Simon. Then you have Aroko Dare. So when you have these 3 fronts, I mean, these are guys that you know that can actually give you goals and, you know, give you what you need at a particular time. You go to the midfield, Alex Iwobi has been wonderful so far. Yes, we may not have Olaino and Osai Samuel, you know, in the defense, but Calvin Bassey and Trust Ekong. So Trust Ekong scoring the last time after what he did, you know, in the previous game against South Africa. But he's bounced back, and the leadership is there. I mean, I feel all these players want to go to the World Cup. For the first time, we are having a World Cup that has 48 teams. I mean, it's real. I don't know how to put it. It's going to be hard to think about or to even anticipate that Nigeria will not be a part of that those 48 teams that will be in USA, Mexico, and Canada next year across 3 countries. It's I just hope and pray that today the results will be favorable and then the Super Eagles can get that automatic qualification. But then there's also another route which has to be the best team, the best 4 performing teams from the group going to play the playoff. You just need only one slot. Morocco is going to be hosting that playoff spot, and the group is going to be done according to how the ranking, the latest FIFA ranking that will be released on the 23rd. It will be done on the 23rd of this month. The qualifiers, the playoff spot will be done in November in Morocco. Now, you were going to get just one slot out of the 4 countries that will enter the playoff spot, and one of those countries will now go ahead to play another playoffs for the world for the sport. You're going to be playing teams from South America and other countries that did not qualify automatically. So it's a long route. Would you want to go through that process? No. But today, so the prayers should be South Africa losing and then Nigeria winning, but at least 2 goals, and then the World Cup ticket is in our hands.
Cecilia, the prayer has started already, but we just hope that the Eagles will do their bit as well on the pitch. But Cecilia, talk to us about the general effect and, of course, the factor of our last match with Benin Republic. How will that play out? What should we be worried about?
Yeah, I think we understand. Genezro knows the players very well. I mean, he was with Nigeria from 2016 to. He was here for a very, very long time. I mean, almost 6 years. It's been a longest serving coach since you had the time of the former coach that qualified Nigeria for the very first World Cup, Westerhoff. So he knows the players very well, and he's going to tell his teams what to do. When you know a team in and out, so it's actually hard. What will Richard do differently now? That's where the question. We really want to see what he's going to do differently. If he's still going to use the same way he plays, because sometimes your opponent determines how you set up. So are you going to go your usual formation or your usual tactics? Are you going to? Obviously, we're not going to go all defensive. So the fact that Genezro knows the players very well, and the fact that we lost to them, away from here, shows that you wouldn't want to lose to a team twice. So I also know that the coach now or the players understands Benin Republic better. At first game, they may have underrated them, but now they wouldn't do that. Yes, 2 of their key players are not here, but that's not a factor, because player for player, Benin Republic is no match for Nigeria. So that's the key. Yes, coach for coach, their coach may have more experience than Erichel, but we all know that when you put in the best players together and then you have a tactic that works for you, you ensure your defense line is solid and there is no complacency. There is no way you will not win against a team like Benin Republic, really. Right there in the yes, I know the fans are willing to come all out and support them, but you really don't need all that to play against a team like Benin Republic. Yes, I'm not trying to put them down, but they've never ever qualified for the World Cup. Super Eagles have been to the World Cup 7 times. So I mean, look at all the times we've been to the World Cup, and look at our performance over the years. Even Egypt, as big as they are, have not even been to the World Cup as much time as Nigeria has been to the World Cup. So you already have that experience. You already have that pedigree. You already have that a factor, and of course you also have the best players that you can think about in the world. So you wouldn't want to be complacent when you're playing against a team like Benin Republic. I think that's what they did the first time, and that's why they lost. So this time around, this is time for business. You understand and you know the mission. The mission is you don't concede. The mission is score as much as 3 goals and then put yourself in a better position whereby if you do not pick the automatic ticket, at least you have a chance of the playoff spot. And when you go for the playoff spot, you have a chance of at least, getting that soul ticket from Africa, that soul ticket for you to, be able to make it to the World Cup, really.
I don't know. I think all of this just makes the whole build-up interesting, how there are lots of stakes, there's palpitations, calculations. This is our World Cup, really. We've not even got to World Cup, and we have this kind of, apprehension. And it just reminds me of this proverb that says, may your food never be in your enemy's house, because our destiny lies in our hands and in the hands of our enemies, in quote. But I want you to speak to us on a final note as we close. Cecilia, do we deserve to be at the World Cup? And I say this with every sense of respect, because we've been sharing points, 5 draws. We were sharing points with people. Do we really deserve to be at this World Cup more than other teams on that table?
Okay, to be sincere, right? I'm going to speak as a journalist now, not as a Nigerian. To be sincere, we do not deserve to be at this World Cup, really. We've scored 11 goals in how many matches? And we've conceded 8. I mean, a team that is ready to go to the World Cup started early. When I mean starting early, started winning early. When did we get our first win? Our first win was against Rwanda. So it's the journey that the way we started. We've used how many coaches for this World Cup? 4, right? Started with Pesero, went to Mbah, went to Philippe George, and of course, Eric Chill. So if you just look at the process, I mean, look at Benin Republic, 5 wins. So that tells you that this is a team that this is a country that they were ready and they wanted this ticket, like they wanted it more. We felt, when some of us saw the group, okay, South Africa, I felt the only team that will give us trouble will be South Africa. And that will be when we travel to their country, because we know the antics, that they could use to ensure that the players may not play well. We saw how they took us to, a stadium that they just played the rugby game.
Right.
So it tells you that you're looking at Lesotho, and someone said that since you know that Lesotho, Zimbabwe are going to be playing their games in South Africa, it was also going to be difficult for us. And that's what happened. How do you draw a Zimbabwe on your home ground? The question, really.
But
Lesotho
still,
on your home ground.
somebody will say, shout grace.
So I think that's where we lost it.
Somebody will say grace, but we have to anchor at this point. I like how you put it. 5 p.m. is the time. I'm going to be on the phone with you as well, Cecilia, during that period, so we can strengthen each other. Cecilia Morbe, our sports anchor correspondent, thank you for your time and your analysis.
Thank you, Kaidi. Thank you.
And life happens sometimes. So whatever happens after 5 p.m. today, remember the life goes on. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Kauka.
I will see you tomorrow, so don't worry. I'm Kaidi Kichulu. Sunrise Daily is next. Goodbye.